Hey there! Did you know Kroger always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower-than-low prices? And when you download the Kroger app, you'll enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. And don't forget fuel points to help you save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. Want to save even more? With a Boost membership, you'll get double fuel points and free delivery. So shop and save big at Kroger today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
News team, assemble!
It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, we are back. It is another edition of the unofficial 40 podcast right here at Soonerscoop.com. The entire crew joins us. Eddie, Josh. Boy, I put Eddie before Josh. You've just surpassed everybody, Eddie. You're the influencer of Sooner Scoop now. Josh, Eddie, Bob is with us. Of course you think that. I am Carrie Murdoch. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we still, why the f***, I'll just throw the first F-bomb out there. Did we wait to do
our rating
to do our pod last week when we still have nothing decided?
In hindsight, yes. This is ridiculous. Yes.
Still no quarterback decisions, although I have to say the Wisconsin smoke yesterday was delicious with Caleb Williams.
I might be the biggest Wisconsin fan in the state of Oklahoma right now.
You might just get a degree from there just to do it now.
I almost DM'd Big Cat yesterday like, hey, whatever we need to do, let's get this kid to Wisconsin. Let's get him to Madison.
Can Sooner Scoop run an NIL program for Caleb Williams while he's at Wisconsin in Norman?
I'm sure Carl would like that, wouldn't he?
Carl, DM me. Let's talk.
Wouldn't that be
no one
the most
else,
hilarious
No
term?
one else from your camp has ever DM'd me back. So, you know what? Why not now when you're no longer at OU, when it's useful?
Do you think Barry Alvarez would like putting up with Carl Williams? That just dawned on me.
Barry Alvarez will never, ever talk to either one of those. I guarantee you.
Yep. Ever.
It's crazy, man. When I first saw the Wisconsin stuff yesterday, I initially eye-rolled it, but then, like, when you throw in the Bobby Ingram angle to all of it, I kind of go, okay, like, I could see that.
Is it the dads, too, or is it just the sons? Because I know, it's Dean and Caleb, but are Carl and Bobby really tight, too?
I don't know if they're as tight as much as, like, is it true that Bobby Ingram went to Gonzaga Prep as well? Being from the Baltimore area, it would check the box as far as wanting a guy that could give him quote unquote NFL tutelage. I don't know. Maybe I'm still probably in the camp of I got to see it to believe it, but boy, that would be interesting. And then when On3 put out the report yesterday, I guess it gave it a little bit more credence that maybe that could be a possibility. All I know is this is much more fun to watch from afar, knowing that it's
doesn't affect
very,
you.
very, very unlikely that it's ever going to affect me.
Yep.
I will throw this out there. I had heard that even as early as this week, maybe the line of communication was tried to be reopened with Oklahoma. And I think Oklahoma is more than ready to move forward with Dylan Gabriel as their quarterback.
I mean, the whole thing is just, I don't understand it. I mean, like,
I don't either.
I was trying, I never did it, but I almost went on the board like a week ago and just told people, hey, let's just cut out the Jackson Dart anger. It's like too early for that. I'm glad I didn't now. I'm glad that anger is out there because it's just, now I can say it's deserved. To take this long to make a decision is just ridiculous for anybody.
I guess I could understand like the Jackson Dart angle though. Like if that bridge isn't burned at Los Angeles and Caleb doesn't end up back there, if you're Jackson Dart, do you go back to Los Angeles? Like, I mean, of course, I don't want that to happen because I want that quarter room to be barren, but it would be interesting. Like, what would be the best situation for Jackson Dart? I can tell you guys this, and I know that, Josh, you put up some stuff in the Woklahoma this morning. I'm kind of under the impression that Oklahoma wouldn't say no to Jackson Dart, obviously, but it seems like everybody's kind of moving forward as if that's not going to happen with Oklahoma and Jackson Dart.
That, and it feels kind of on brand for me, guys. Like, kind of like what we talked, Eddie mentioned the rumors of Caleb Williams reaching back out, or, somebody from the Williams, camp. It feels very much like, guys, we want to make a statement. This is about football. Like, we want guys that want to be here, that want to be part of this program, and kind of pushing that. Now, certainly, like you said, I think if Jackson Dart wants to come, cool. They'll make that work. But I think they want to make it clear that, like, your focus should be about this. It should be on this thing, which feels very, like we keep saying, everything that Brent Venables has brought up so far seems to be enacted, seems to be followed in action, not just like, oh, we're going to say this and then do something else. Like, that's not really how it's played. I think the one exception might be we want to, we're not going to get crazy with offers, and obviously they've done a lot of that already. But that's, I think when you start, that's kind of normal. Now, once they're set up, we'll see how it goes. But I think this is what they're about. They want guys that are in there with Schmidt, doing the work, doing the stuff they need to do, and getting ready for the season, rather than guys that are, guys, at this point, what new information is anyone taking in? Like, what does, unless there's something out of left field, what does Jackson Dart not know about USC, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and BYU that he's going to learn in the next day or two? Like, it's there. It's time to do it.
With USC is the transfer portal.
Yeah.
You've got Brennan Rice. You've got Mario Williams. You got Travis Dye. Got a whole lot of pieces that weren't there when Dart was there just a month ago. So I can understand a little bit if he's waiting for Caleb, because now he sees the pieces for the Trojans compared to what he had when he was there last season.
And you got to
how is Mario Williams?
Yes, in a way too, that like with the Jackson Dart stuff, it just, I don't know. It seems like all the questions that everybody has are the same questions that we have. Like, why has this taken so long? Sorry, Josh, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, what is Mario Williams thinking about all this? Because, he made it clear he wants to play with Caleb Williams, and you think picked USC based on that belief.
How many people is Caleb Williams going to leave before this is all said and done? He will have left Lincoln Riley twice. He will have left Mario Williams twice. He's already left Marvin Mims and everybody else once.
Doesn't it kind of seem like he's looking for reasons not to go to USC? Like, I fully believe that that line of communication, and I put this on the board, it's like we had continually been told throughout the early portion of this process that USC wasn't really an option. Like, he didn't want to end up there. And I don't know. I guess we're kind of looking at it through a lens of, I guess it's jaded a little bit in that it seems like he kind of overplayed his hand a little bit.
I don't know. Look at it.
Look at it. The best way to say it.
Look at it from a football perspective, though. Wisconsin is not a bad team. They're a decent team. If he were the quarterback to put them over the top and win the Big Ten, that would raise his profile immensely. It's a good. It would be a good. Carl, I hope you're listening. It would be a great football decision. As much as a NIL decision.
Yeah, you, Carl. I hope you are listening.
It's Minnesota. It's Iowa. Like, that's the weak division.
Yeah.
Wisconsin is light years ahead of what USC is going to be in 2022.
Absolutely.
But you're right. Like, the idea of the USC stuff, and then you kind of get into like the Jackson Dart stuff and the Michael Trigg. Are they connected as well? Because they've been on record and saying that they want to play together. I don't think that any of us think that that Trigg would end up at BYU. So it seems like they almost have to end up at Ole Miss if it's not Oklahoma. The whole thing's fascinating, and it seems like maybe they're close. It's all closer connected than I originally thought. As far as is Dart waiting on Caleb Williams to make a decision, I really don't know.
Now I want to go back to something that you said, Josh. You mentioned Oklahoma making it clear that this is about football. What indications have you gotten that Dart is making a decision that's not football based?
No, I mean more of, like I said, what are you waiting on? Like, if it's going to be Oklahoma or Ole Miss, okay, fine. Bob said USC. Okay, maybe it's USC, but with what apparently Gabe Eichert heard from some people around Dart, how do you go back to USC? Like, how do you trust anything? I mean, that's the thing with both these quarterbacks. Lincoln Riley has burned both of them.
Yep. Yeah.
How can they really go back to him and be like, yeah, I can trust what he says? Like, I mean, I guess that's a big deal for me. I mean, everybody's going to have their own personal things, but if I can't trust you, I have no interest in being around you, much less staking my future on you.
You know, it's interesting to me. Would it be collateral damage? I don't know if that's the right wording, but like just all the moves that Lincoln made in the move, and we've kind of rehashed this before, but I think he kind of underestimated how much of a bad guy he was going to, and maybe, or am I looking at it through OU color glasses too, that like, did he underestimate how bad he looked in this entire move? Not just to the Oklahoma fan base, which is obvious, but to prospective recruits and to people that
families mainly,
like the Dart situation. Did he underestimate that as well in knowing that he was going to piss these people off and trying to bring Caleb Williams in, or is it kind of one of those cutthroat things that just doesn't really care?
Like if he would flip his narrative from like family, like all that we heard in Norman, and just said for your best opportunity to get to the next level.
Sure.
Like if he just reinvented himself in that way.
The problem is Lincoln pulled the rug under his own credibility with what he did. So for him to say, for him to go to Jackson Dart and his family and say, look, we're about competition here. We're about the best players playing. And if your son is that guy, he has nothing to worry about. Like, it's hard to have a hard and fast set of rules when you yourself don't really seem to have a code that you live by. Which, his code seems to be, I'm going to do whatever I want to do.
Sure.
There's no foundation.
That's why I'm saying sort of embrace, not being the bad guy, but just to like get away from the family thing that you were trying to portray, do another direction, and then see if that takes off. Because you're going to be negatively recruited with the family mantra the rest of the time now.
It is weird that I just saw a guy, Joshisa Jojo Trader, tweet out he got an offer from OU with a Mario Williams picture in it.
There's a lot of these.
I love those.
Spencer Rattler. There's so many. You've seen Buki.
Use Buki 100% of the time. Come on.
With what we're talking about, man,
from Brent Venables,
that was really fast. I was like, I must have missed that yesterday. It was like 27 seconds ago. Holy crap! But yeah, I think you've got to go LeBron. Just turn heel. Like, just embrace what you are. Quit trying to rewrite the narrative because you're never going to outrun it. It's there. So just be that, and like. You're going to spend so much less time swimming upstream about it.
Recruiting families might be hard, but I don't know. But he should. He can't act like who he was in Norman is who he is now, because we all know that's not true.
Well, I mean, guys,
two-faced scumbag that lives in Hollywood.
Think about what Lincoln had the most success with. It was never about recruiting families. Like, he may have said that crap on Twitter, but families aren't like, boy, I love a Ferrari. Like, that's not like the big pitches were always very flashy.
No, remember we were going over that and how all the dads were surrounding the Raptor, the truck. Like the kids were like all around the Bentley, and the dads were like, "Look at this truck.
That truck's a bad boy. You could tow something with that." You know, like I mean that kind of, like it's just a different mentality. And so I was actually just on a little while ago with our guy Plank talking about kind of how the two recruiting styles are so different, and that's what it is. Like Brent is going to connect with family. He's going to, you know, like I was talking about it,
and high school coaches, by the way.
Yeah, with somebody, you know, like what is OU's strength going to be? And I'm like, it's going to be in-home visits. OU needs to get in-home where Brent Venables and Todd Bates and all these guys are sitting there talking with these players and really building that trust with mom and dad and the coaching staff and really, you know, whoever the decision makers are in that family group, they're going to hit that out of the park. That's going to be a friggin' home run. Lincoln, you wonder a little bit if this is why, you know, and I don't know that it was always fair, but it's definitely been a pattern of the last couple of classes where Oklahoma struggled to close at times. And you wonder if there is some connection to that where, you know, a guy like Tristan Lee picks Dabo and picks a guy, you know, kind of like what I'm talking about. It's going to win mom, going to win dad. You wonder if some parents kind of looked at Lincoln Riley and said, you know, maybe they saw what we all now see because they had to sit there in that room with him and watch him sell something that I think we've all gathered is not what his home base is. That's not what his to sell. He just kind of made the family thing. But is there anybody around that program that's talked about like, yeah, you know, it really felt like a family when Lincoln Riley was around?
There is one thing that
does that sell better in Los Angeles?
Probably.
I think
it's probably more at home.
I mean, but that's not what Lincoln needs. I mean, he doesn't need to have more individuals on his team that are focused on themselves. I think that's been.
But that's the question. Does he know that? Does he get that?
That's a good question. I will say it's not. I already miss having the number one quarterback in the recruiting class every year.
Yeah,
that was nice for us.
And you know, and if we want to get into that, we can. But I mean, I think people are really undervaluing Jackson Arnold. And you look at the rankings, and I don't.
That's what we always do. Somebody like Gabe was asking me the other day, like, does this guy move the needle? And I said, it doesn't matter if a quarterback is a 5-star or 4-star, because the fans and us will just say, well, he's a 4-star, but he sure looks like a 5-star. Like, you know, we always say, like,
sure,
yeah, he's just not, his rating just hasn't caught up with his talent yet. Like, that's
better than Art.
That's always the narrative. Like, it always has been. But the quarterbacks, they always move the needle. They always do. I'm just saying, it was nice when you had the guy with the 5-star with the number 1 next to his name.
Yeah, you didn't have to worry about, like, buying in.
No.
You know, people were just in. Yeah.
I will take the number 1 quarterback in the state of Texas every time over the number 1 quarterback from one of the coasts, especially at Oklahoma.
I will say, and what's worth noting is that Jackson Arnold on ESPN, number 42 overall. Jackson Arnold on 24/7, number 47 overall. We have him lower than I believe anybody else. I think on 3, it's hard to gauge theirs. Like, it's a little lower. Yeah, and that's not what I'm trying to push. I'm just saying there are people that really think I mean, you're talking top 40 at this point. That's a possible 5-star down the road. Cade Klubnik, who just entered as everybody's 5-star this time last year, I think was probably in the hundreds. Maybe I'd have to go back and actually look at it to be sure. But he was not the perennial, you know, 5-star. And to Carrie's point, we're not going to be able to sell, hey, everybody come subscribe, because Jackson Arnold just moved up to where we felt he should have been at the start. But at the same time, I mean, he is, you know.
He can still be a bell cow for the
was
class.
146.
He can still be a bell cow for the class. He can still get other guys to come with him. I mean, all that stuff is still out there. And that's what a quarterback does. And it is nice to have a guy this early committed, which you would rather have that than not, regardless if he's the number 1 guy or not.
No doubt. And I just love the fact that he comes from a program like Denton Geyer that, you know, when
very
you can
easy
bring
to get to
guys
their games
in, they are going to be prepared from a mental aspect of being able to I guess take on what is being tasked of the Oklahoma quarterback. And I kind of like that mental makeup. And I like the idea that he's already played big time football as a junior down at Denton Guyer. I mean, led him to the state championship. So I kind of love it. And not to mention the fact that, 2023 in the DFW area is going to be a major player for, I believe, what Oklahoma wants to do. And, it's going to be interesting to see how it all kind of comes together. But over the last, first couple months of the Brent Venables era, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. It seems like from a recruiting aspect, they are trying more than ever. They are out and about more than ever. And, I think that a little bit of that probably has to do by way of having a little bit more money to play around with just as far as the travel expense. But, I think that they get it, at least, that they need to get this region of the world locked down before they make the move into the SEC.
And we'll
Go ahead,
We'll
Bob.
get a feel of Jackson Arnold with Junior Day this weekend and his personality and how much does it, his enthusiasm, passion, does it carry over with other top recruits. This will be the first time he's in Norman as a commit and trying to be the face of the class, and we'll just see how he connects and what his personality is going to be like and how does it attract other top kids to come with him.
I do have one major bone to pick with Brent Venables on the Brent Venables era. And it started, remember the OU coaches were at the coaches convention, and there was a picture of all the coaches standing up there, and Eddie sent us a picture, and he said, "Who is this?" And it was just a guy standing in the middle. And I said, "I think that's our lawyer." And you were like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I think that's our lawyer." And then I noticed on his Twitter page, which I wasn't following him, it said special assistant to the head coach. And now I cannot get our lawyer to respond to my text because he works for Brent. I think he's scared, like he doesn't know if he can talk to me and compliance and all this stuff. Like, I cannot get our own lawyer to respond to my text now. Like, the guy that is helping us build NIL, like, he's not directly helping us like other people in the office are doing it, but Woody, just respond to some texts every once in a while. Like, I knew when, like, he's very good friends with Brent, like, always has been, like, they're best friends.
I'll tell him at lunch. We're supposed to go to lunch tomorrow,
okay. So like the whole time Brent was being, he never responded to my text, and I was like, is Brent the guy? Is Brent the guy? He never responded, and I understood it, like, he's not going to tell me anything, but I got to try. It's the way it always is. But Brent, you took my lawyer away from me. I'm really pissed at you. So there.
I'm just gonna say
Bob, Eddie, you
always
would never
wondered
be
why
under
that
contract.
was our.
I'm sorry to say we don't have a lawyer anymore.
I always wonder why that was our lawyer, but now I know you were using him for.
I got a whole lot out of it.
A smart play.
I got a whole lot out
savvy.
of it. Hiring Brent's best friend to be our lawyer. He got a lot of information out of that.
Yeah.
But there was a.
By the way,
was a
I'm
moment
sure
when, during the coaching search, it was like, well, he hasn't said no, so maybe that means.
We are wide open now to Oklahoma coming after us again, though, Josh. That's a problem.
Oh no, we've lost our legal shielding. I hope she's not listening.
Yeah, we got a cease and desist from the people who own Oklahoma.
Her and her 37 followers are going to be pissed.
It was good for her Instagram feed, I bet.
We should have checked. Like, maybe she sent that out like after we responded.
We got a whole new set of problems now. Thanks, Woody. Appreciate that. Left us wide open.
Great. Thanks, Brent. Brent's done this.
It's on you, Brent.
You knew what you were doing, Brent. You opened us up. Cut us up from the inside.
So, anyway, back to quarterbacks, Junior Day, all that stuff. I mean, we got to hit on that a little bit because, as you guys said, there's a lot that you want to know, you want to find out. But, I mean, is this kind of going back to the old way of doing things? I mean, it seemed like Junior Days became less of a deal under Lincoln. Am I wrong in saying that?
They were definitely more infrequent.
He'd get them in.
Yeah. Yep.
It wasn't so much just one big day.
Yeah.
It was like
really,
weekends of multiple guys.
Yep. It wasn't the big weekend orchestration kind of thing. Like, hey, we're going to be here. We'll be ready. Because there would always be, I thought he was coming in this weekend. Oh, no, he shifted to that weekend. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Like that's going to happen to Brent and everybody else. These are high school kids. They move around like crazy. But there wasn't the concerted effort other than the barbecue. That was the one time when it was like, this is the date. This is how it's going to be. We're going to push forward with this guy. So, but like, God, wow, guys, we've talked, and sorry to get off trail here just a little bit. Florida just announced a new hire. A reporter I follow says this is the 48th hire by Billy Napier for the Gators football staff. That, we've talked on this pod
48.
for a long time, and especially of, over the last few weeks when we're seeing and hearing about more new hires coming and all this stuff. This is what OU's dealing with. They're going against people that have 50 people in their athletic, or not in their athletic department, in their damn football offices. You can't compete with that with 10 guys, a couple of interns, and a few support staff guys. Like, you got to fight fire with fire, and that's what it looks like Oklahoma is doing now. But people kind of wonder, like, why is this guy coming in? It's this, because you've got to fight these massive staffs that are so, I mean, frankly, overstaffed in a lot of ways, but you don't want to be, left without a bullet in the chamber, I guess. So,
just as an example, one of the positions that was announced, and I think this was last week, but they hired a guy named Chris Couch. His title at Florida is Game Changer Coordinator. What that means, I have no idea. This new one is.
Does that mean
Mike
it
Richard.
could change the game in a good and a bad way? Like he comes in and just shit up intentionally?
Like if they go out and lose, I think he's the one that goes and takes all the brunt of the storm from the fans.
Kids are getting cocky. We're going to put a shit show out there for a little while.
That should be a rule. If you have a terrible game as a coordinator, you have to host your own Twitter space after the game. That could be the new thing.
What is, I know that Oklahoma just posted like an updated, I guess, coaching staff thing. What would their number technically be at? I can go back and look and see real quick and see what OU would be at. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll get a number real quick.
I mean, if I was going to guess, and obviously you include the 10 on staff.
You had Cooper, John Cooper.
Yeah.
You have your
Cooper,
strength and conditioning people.
Nunez.
You have your nutrition people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'd guess they're probably low to mid-20s.
10 on field plus the 20 that are listed below as support staff. That would put OU at about 31. They don't have somebody like a John Cooper added yet, so we'll give them 32, 33, something like that. So, 15 people is a lot of people.
Yep, you're playing ball. I mean, but at least, God, guys, it felt like for a while. Now, I think some of it, too, is Oklahoma has always been, like, Georgia has that list, that we all saw a few weeks ago of the 50 guys under Kirby Smart. Like, Oklahoma's just pretty much been, here's our 10 on-field guys, here's our nutritionist, here's our S&C head guy, and then no real mention of anybody else. Like, so I think there's always been a little more than you were led to believe, but 30 and growing is clearly bigger than any time I can remember.
Yeah, and then they hired Annie Hansen to replace Annie Hansen.
Don't you shame Lee.
I'm just saying.
Lee doesn't deserve that.
No, she probably doesn't.
You need to retract that statement.
I can't.
I
said it. They just look similar. I think
I speak for Eddie,
blonde.
Bob, and myself. We all disavow Carrie's comment there. That is unfair and incorrect.
That's fine. I'm just upset because Nate Erdman followed you, and you hate basketball.
Oh,
and
you are pissy about that.
I love Nate Erdman.
Nate Erdman gave all of the boys of our generation hope that we could actually be basketball players.
Well, it didn't stick with you.
It did not. Oh, I loved playing basketball. It's terrible at it. Terrible.
What's his handle?
Let's see. Let's get some followers for old Nate Erdman.
Is it NLEOU?
NLEOU 22.
Damn it, he doesn't follow me.
Oh, that's savage. I'm going to follow him back. You know, I let him. He came to me. I
was
want to
already
do the right
following
thing.
him,
And follow
so
him
screw
back.
you.
He also follows
That
Sooner
makes it
Scoop,
worse,
so
right?
you know. Oh, he follows Stoops Bros too. Oh, Carrie, you're just getting dunked on right now.
If you would have told the young Eddie Radosevich that Nate Erdman and Ryan Miner would both follow him on Twitter one day, I might have just quit. I might have retired that life.
I think Ryan Miner does follow me because I stood in the bathroom line with him at Brothers back in the day.
Follow me. Damon and Ryan.
Ryan Miner does not follow me. I am over the moon. I'm followed by J.R. Conrad. I mean, come on, talk about on brand for me.
Son of a
you offensive
bitch, Ryan
lineman.
Miner doesn't follow me either. God, I'm just
He
getting
doesn't
dunked on all over the
Follow
place.
me. Cool.
And Eddie, my big one, Javi Flores. When Javi Flores followed me, I was like, "That's amazing." I was so jacked about that one.
Guess
Guess
what?
My
Okay,
dude
hold on.
growing up.
I got one more to check here.
You've seen the picture of
Son
me
of a
and J.R.
bitch.
Conrad,
Damon
haven't you?
Miner doesn't follow me either.
I think we should just. let
Damon
Carrie
Miner
keep,
doesn't
owning
follow me yet. Oh my God. I'm just going to say this to all you Miner brothers, to Nate Erdman. I control all the U40 hats, and you're getting none of them. Even if you try and buy one, I will not ship one to you. Sons of bitches. I control the merch, and you're getting none of it.
Seinfeld, you're the hat Nazi.
No hats for you. No visors for you. If you want the high crown visor, screw you. They're hard enough to get as it is. You're not jumping the line on anybody now.
Are you just cutting off like all any orders to Hammond are just not going through? Like you're like, no, this could end up in the wrong
family's
hands.
not going to be getting anything.
That's
No.
a made-up name. I'm not sending it there.
In fact, I think
Ryan Major and Hammond. We know who you are.
Right.
Bob has a friend named Ryan who ordered a hat. I might cancel that order just because he's named Ryan.
Oh Lord!
Keep your money.
Never
Sorry,
be
Carrie.
too sure.
Blame it on the post office.
I bet people coming into this were like, "There's going to be Ryan Miner and Nate Erdman conversation. It's going to get heated too."
That's because the
Thanks
quarterbacks haven't
to Nate
decided.
for follow.
I'm worthless the rest of the podcast now. I'm just beside myself.
Carrie's out.
I mean, I
I'm
can
hurt.
probably tell him to follow you if you want me to.
I don't need your condescension, all right?
I don't need your pity.
I know what you're doing, and I don't appreciate it. That bonus just got smaller this month, too.
Oh, that's amazing.
I may not have any power anymore, but the power I have, I'm wielding.
Everybody out
Junior
there,
Day.
you know,
Let's get back on track. Junior Day.
Yeah.
Junior Day or the
Right.
visitors from last weekend.
Yeah, because that was a big. It was a massive weekend in Norman.
That's probably a good place to start. You know, we talked about all of them coming in. The two that I had kind of earmarked as guys that I thought could pull the trigger over the weekend were Jamarian Burt, the corner from Ocala, Florida, Forest High School. Big, long guy. Really, like I said last week, like him a lot. Really think he brings some interesting things. Kind of reminds me of some of the guys we saw in years past, even under Brent, that they would identify kind of late in recruiting and found him and just kind of had a lot of talent. You know, and I don't want to say he reminds me of him as a player, but kind of, you know, being a Florida guy, kind of a late riser. There's some Gary Simon in there for me, some reminders of that, a guy that, you know, the hardcore recruiting guys are going to remember, a guy that I just loved coming out of high school and just never really panned out at OU, but extremely talented guy. Burt, kind kind of again, kind of a hit on Carrie here. Had some relationship with Lee Davis when she was at Florida. I think that helped OU a little bit here, kind of get their foot in the door and kind of helped just make him a little more comfortable. And then obviously Oklahoma and all their ties and recruiting Florida right now. I'm told the visit went extremely well. I think it's going to come down to if he visits Missouri this weekend, which at this point in the week, the fact that you haven't seen any announcement from him or anything, I'm kind of guessing he will take that trip. And we'll see, because what Missouri's draw at the moment seems to be the possibility of recruiting his brother, who is in the transfer portal, a guy out of West Georgia University. And we'll see what comes of that. I don't know what Missouri can do there. I don't know if they take his brother so they can try to get Burt or what the situation's going to be. But leaving Oklahoma, I think Oklahoma felt really, really good about Jamarian Burt. The other guy that I was kind of high on was R. Mason Thomas. From what I can tell, nothing earth-shattering happened over the weekend. Visit went very well. Same with his teammate Ahmad Moten. I think both of those went like you wanted them to. I think both are going to come down to OU and Miami. They're both going to visit Miami this weekend. We'll see. I mean, it's Mario Cristobal. It's Miami. They're hometown kids. You just don't know. I would bet on OU for both of them, but we'll see, where that goes, where that plays out. I guess the last one is Grayson Halton, the big defensive lineman from San Diego. I was told that visit went incredibly well. I talked to Grayson a little bit. One of the telling things is he was supposed to visit Miami this coming weekend, and I was told that by a couple of coaching staffs involved in his recruitment. Grayson doesn't talk much, but I've talked to a few people that are familiar with what's going on with him. And the expectation was he was going to visit OU last weekend, Miami this weekend, and then make his decision. Now, both of those staffs thought it was going to be Miami. They thought that connection to Cristobal and the guys from Oregon that followed him down there was going to be too much to overcome. I don't think he's taking that Miami visit anymore. In fact, I've talked to our Miami site. They don't expect him down there. And now I think it was kind of telling because when I talked to Halton, he goes, I don't really want to say much until signing day. And I was like, okay, that feels like a pretty big shining light on what may be happening here. But I think Oklahoma's in really good shape with Grayson Halton. And interesting guy, 6'2.5", about 265. We'll kind of get a feel for what Brent's going to do up front with a player like him. Is he going to be a defensive end in this scheme? Is he going to be a 3-tech? We'll see. My gut tells me he'll play defensive end. That's kind of where I see him, gravitating toward. And I mean, let's be honest, it's got to be a little fun for Oklahoma to go into Southern California and land a 4-star guy. Kind of right under the nose of Lincoln Riley and company. So there's some good things. And obviously we can cover the Gentry Williams stuff. I know Bob has some to add into that, but though, the 4 uncommitted guys, I think Oklahoma hit it out of the park, and it wouldn't shock me if they landed all 4.
Well, Josh, we did this with the transfer portal with all those guys in the secondary. Can they take them all? Now, Kevontae Henry, Moten, Thomas, Halton, would they take all 4 of them?
I think they would. And guys, what is interesting to me is I don't know. OU's not going to run anybody off. Like, I don't want to put it like that. But there are going to be some guys that see all these guys coming in. They see new ideas. They see the change in strength and conditioning. They see the change in what they're going to do up front. There's going to be some guys that like, I don't fit this. This isn't best made for me, and they're going to go. So right now, I don't think you're like, well, I don't see any spots that are available. I think you'll see some open up. I just do. And I think Oklahoma is going to remain active in the portal come the spring when there's some guys at various schools that are going to, get back out in there. I think people keep confusing the portal like, oh, it's just over in January. No, much to the joy of Bob, Eddie, Carrie, and myself, the portal will never, ever end. It never dies. So there's going to be some activity there. Like I would expect in May and June, that kind of.
There's going to be something.
Yep. So I think Yeah. So, and I guess I missed this from a couple of days ago from Grayson Holton. I hadn't seen it. Apparently, he's going to announce on Instagram Live.
No. Check.
Is
the
that
date.
no? That's from a year ago. Good Lord. Okay. Yep. Got
Check
tricked by
the
that.
That's become a thing lately.
words.
That's become a thing lately. People are retweeting old commitment announcements.
It's not cool, and it just made it on the air. Stoops Bros, you're in trouble. But I guess with the portal thread, we can let that slide.
By the way, I am also here for all parents that want to continue screenshotting their conversations with their kids about Schmitty workouts.
The Ray,
Yes.
the Hicks.
Yes. Mrs. Ray,
That has
Mr.
been a
Hicks,
home run.
please keep doing that. That's fantastic stuff.
If not only to shame your child, but just for the laughs we want to get from all of it. So all of that is great. But guys, is it? I mean, because obviously they wouldn't say that stuff if the kids weren't okay with it. Is it a little staggering to you how comfortable so many players are just being like, it was kind of bullshit shade. What we were doing. Yeah. Oh,
it's full shade.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about it. It is full shade. I am here for it. If Kelvin Hicks wants to do a daily vlog on Soonerscoop.com about like his interactions with Marcus, I'm more than happy to give him that platform because I thought some of that stuff was it was laugh out loud funny. Some of it.
I think we just had a momentous moment on Sooner Scoop in the unofficial 40 podcast. Eddie Radosevich is actively pursuing content for the site. I've been trying to get you to do this for years. I'm proud of you.
I'll have my lawyer contact.
Are you going for a new title? Like director of content?
Sure.
Because let's be honest, the staff writer thing is a little, videographer, staff writer. That's a little, I don't know if I believe that.
God, for Eddie at this point, I feel like it's videographer and never-ending front page loader. Like it's become Eddie's job, and I hate that. That's the reality. He's like he'll message me like, "Hey, you want to put this up on the front page?" I'm like, "Yep."
He's
and I am
do
literally
something. His camera's kind of
30
broken
minutes
right
from my
now.
house. Oh, I didn't know the camera was down. Camera down?
It's not. No, we're good. We got a new one though.
Or is this Carrie being video diva? Like it's got to be perfect. Is that what's happening here?
Absolutely, 100%. But that's everyone knows that. That's no secret that I'm a Nazi when it comes to video quality.
Yes.
In fact, it's so well known that our video host is trying to fleece us right now.
Wow, we're ready to go to war. I mean,
Fauci than it does anything.
I heard Fauci, and I don't want to know what else it was.
So it had more to do with Fauci than anything.
So, we are. If Kelvin Hicks, Eddie's in charge of that. Kelvin, reach out and
that recruitment.
We'll get you. We'll get you a YouTube channel or something. Whatever you want.
And Carrie will send you unofficial 40 merch.
Yes, unlike the minor bastards. And Nate Erdman, you are dead to me. I mean, look, that could not have gone much better. It sounds like in terms of the visits. I do want to say it's pay the bills time. I want to get Dead Sox in here so I don't have to do it after. But want to remind you guys that they've got the 3 different packages on deadsoxy.com if you want to get the Oklahoma editions of their stuff, which is really, really good stuff. We've all got their socks. I think, Bob, do you have their socks? Did they ever send you anything?
I do indeed.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I was worried that
like them a lot.
So you never told me that. So did you get? You've got like the. Did you get some no shows or do you just have the boardroom?
The boardroom.
Okay. Well, you don't need the no shows right now because it's too damn cold out right now. But as I said last week, like to me, the best thing about those socks right now is like the last thing you want is to put on the big, thick white socks when you're just trying to get in and out of the house. Because let's face it, we're all trying to stay inside as much as possible. So, like I really miss flip-flop weather, and it's just so easy to have flip. But like if you have the Dead Soxies, they're so kind of comfortable and you barely even notice you have them on. But it just makes your life a little bit better. I mean, when you have to go outside. So go check them out at deadsoxy.com. Use that promo code Boomer for 20% off. Also, you can check out those special collections they have on sale right now, where you can get every single OU sock that they sell for $125, $124.95. You get all 8 pairs, or you can split it up into the 4 packs for $65. Deadsoxy.com, promo code Boomer for 20% off, and we appreciate them being a sponsor. So back to business. Recruiting weekend over, junior weekend coming.
Start with pick back up with maybe the biggest news of the week so far outside of the Jackson Arnold stuff. I guess the recommitment or
reaffirming
his commitment to Oklahoma and Gentry Williams. And just, I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody thought that he was going to be moving on. But I think that there was a little bit of concern that, okay, why didn't he sign in December if he wanted to go to Oklahoma? And, sure enough, he was able to take that visit. And Bob, you talked to him yesterday. Just where was everything at with Gentry Williams?
Yeah, I think that's just a great indication that Jay Valai hit it out of the park with him. And I mean, that was sort of the deal, right? You didn't have a cornerbacks coach when you went into the early signing period, so it made sense. You might have lost Bryce because of it, and Gentry held off, and now you were able to hire Valai and get Gentry back to campus, and it sounds like everything went really, really well. I was incredibly brief with Gentry, just a couple text messages. We all saw the tweets. I just wanted him to say it and confirm it, and he did. He said, I'm firm, I'm all in, ready to get to work, and let's go ahead and win this national championship, bring it back to Norman.
I mean, do you feel like that says it all? I'm still concerned, Bob.
Yeah,
a lot of worry with Gentry.
He just never said it. Why won't he say it?
The whole go ahead.
He had the tweets of "Let's get to work" and "town business." We all could read between the lines, but it was nice just to have Gentry say it, so that there's no room for maybe he was trying to imply this. No, he's locked in. He's telling the other staffs at other schools that he's done. Don't worry about it. Let's find out his signing time Wednesday, and it'll be all official.
It kind of seemed like they sold him on the idea of coming down with the other 2 fellow Tulsa guys. And, Josh, I mentioned to you and I think the War Room, just as far as that's kind of a big win for Oklahoma to be able to go up into Tulsa in a place that they haven't had a whole lot of success, and especially for this new staff to go get the 3 that they did in that defensive secondary. It seems like, I don't know, is it too early to say that's a turning point for Oklahoma? But in past years, I could have seen them not doing as well and being able to close this out with a Gentry Williams.
Oh, I mean, you go in and land, and I believe all 3 ended up as 4-stars. I know, obviously, Robert Spears Jennings and Gentry are in the 250, but yeah, Rowe had gotten a 4-star rating as well. 3 4-star defensive backs from Tulsa, that's pretty solid. And I have to take a moment to share. I was talking to somebody who was around Rowe this weekend. I was just kind of like, what'd you think? What'd you see? And the comparison that was made is a comparison I've never heard in my life. Called him a baby dinosaur. I don't know what that means, but it sounds good. It's definitely not a baby giraffe, which is problematic. But that is like,
it's not like a reverse Benjamin Button kind of thing where
yes. Jaden Rowe is just, I mean, and you've heard all the stories already about Jaron Kanak and how he's testing. Guys, we've talked about on this pod several times. Those 2 guys, I don't care what class you put them in. You put them in Alabama's class. You put them in Georgia's class. They are freaks of nature. They are not normally talented people.
That Kanak was that physically imposing. I saw that photo of him with his shirt off, and I was just like, holy Lord, who is that? I mean, like...
Context.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm not afraid of my sexuality. Boy, I'm cutting that out of the pod.
Oh, look at that. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. This is.
I am afraid of what I just said, though. The pictures of him working out. No, the pictures of him working out, like with his shirt off. This is what we talk about. It's recruiting. Like I was just shocked. Like it was just like his arms were massive, his thighs were massive. It was just like I didn't know that was what Jaron Kanak looked like.
Greg Swaim's son would not be able to say that.
Eddie, I don't know if you missed it earlier in the pod. We don't have a lawyer right now, right?
We are without protection. In the words of one of our former rivals employees, we would call him a flesh bomb. That was what he would refer to as those sort of guys.
Yeah, I remember.
Very
that.
uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable.
Thought of
been a long
that
time.
Gentleman in a long time.
Yep. So so everybody's got that out there in their vernacular now.
Nothing was more uncomfortable than. Remember the thing that Robert Allen had out there about some female reporter when a player took his shirt off like a year ago, and like people wanted to cancel him, but it's like you can't really cancel Robert Allen because he's not big enough to cancel. That was
Chuba, wasn't it?
Yep,
was it
Chuba?
Chuba. And it's just like, yeah, I know the regular and like national people were like, how can this be? I was like, he's just a small town guy that nobody really pays attention to except, the really hardcore fan base. Like, you can't really cancel a guy like that.
Yeah.
Like, you can't cancel James Hale, even though he deserves it sometimes with some of his press conference stuff about.
Gary, we don't have a lawyer. I don't know if we need to be.
I don't know if you forgot what you said 2 minutes ago.
I mean, it's like you get these old dudes that are like saying these really weird things sometimes, and it's just
borderline
like
over
that's
the top
way
thing.
worse than what we
Yes.
just said about Kanak. All right,
Sure.
Look, I told you guys this story before. Like when I used to work at Sooners Illustrated, that was my first job out of college, and they had these archives of all the magazine covers that they used to have. It used to be a thing where you would tell players to take their shirts off and do a cover photo shoot. Like in the 80s, there were just cover after cover of two guys standing next to each other with no shirts on. It's the weirdest thing that I've ever seen.
I feel weird when I'm at like a camp or an event and I'm like going to take a mugshot of a guy and he doesn't have a shirt on. Like it's weird. Like it's fine. I take the picture, but like it feels awkward when I do it. Like it's something that has always stuck with me. I did want to say, okay, the two gentlemen we've mentioned already as asking some uncomfortable questions and saying uncomfortable things, they come from an era where they were trying to not do those things, or not obviously everyone's trying to not do those things, but like trying to present a very professional image, even if, it wasn't always reached. What is Eddie going to say when he's old? Because Eddie has never concerned himself with like, I've got to have an upstanding image in the public light.
God. I think what you're saying is how much longer is Eddie going to be able to work for us?
Well, and I think that it should be noted here that the first time that I came and interviewed with Josh for a position with Sooner Scoop, he asked me to take my shirt off. So I kind of think that it's a little bit interesting that he's saying that it makes him so uncomfortable to take pictures with people and their shirts off when the first thing that I had to do was take my shirts and my pants off.
Well, if Eddie remembers the time I came to see the whole Putnam City North crew back when he was, still on the roster, Sam, I made sure everybody had their shirt off. I mean, that's part of the, early 2000s shooting technique of Soonerscoop.com.
To be fair, you were charming fat back then, though, Eddie.
Yeah, now I'm just fat.
Now you're just gross fat. Yeah, kind of like
yeah, I know. I believe.
Like you passed the Chris Farley fat, and now you're just like, don't let him take his shirt off fat, like I am.
Believe me, I'm not trying to take my shirt off anytime. That's why I don't even swim anymore.
And nothing.
See, that's mostly because I don't like getting wet. I don't like the drying off process.
Be glad you have no children that you have to claim. Eddie. I don't get to be like, kids, I'm going to stay out of the pool. They're like, Dad, get in here. Okay, I'm going to take my shirt off now. This is going to be a lot of fun.
There are a lot
really
of shows that we have where
it's swimming lessons to Pat 40.
There are a lot of shows that we have where, like, you know what? We really went off the rails, and that was a great show. This is not that
This
show.
isn't one of them.
No.
This is just off the rails. Yeah, there's nothing great coming
Very
out of it.
awkward at times. Mainly my doing, but, Oh.
Yeah. Well, how the hell did we get
Jaron Kanak and his physicality and the guys coming in and all that. Yeah, I can remember that.
Guy without his shirt off, Kerry took us off the tracks. I got it. Yep, that's right. But yeah, what I was saying though, sorry, I was trying to get back to how we got to Kanak. But yeah, I mean, Rowe and Kanak are just crazy athletic. Robert Spears-Jennings, again, shocked me with how well he did against some of the faster guys in Florida at Under Armour. So, I mean, for Oklahoma to have that kind of DB class, obviously Robert's already on campus going through workouts. Jaden and Gentry will get there in June. So, I mean, there is, like we talked about, there is some difference in what they're recruiting and how they're recruiting, but you have to give the previous staff some credit. They had found some people that can help, and Rowe and Gentry and Robert, I mean, they identified some good players that bring some physical skills, and then, to just have a cherry kind of fall in your lap with oh God, I don't like the way that was going at all with Jaron Kanak. That was going to be weird, all the conversation considered before it. Just to have a guy like Jaron Kanak end up in your class, definitely not fall in your lap. It is it's a huge win. I think there's some real. I was gonna like cherry on top, and then the cherry in the lap, and it was. I mixed everything, and it just got real weird real fast, so I backed away from that.
That's all right. Eddie's made-up word made it onto a big shout-out to Toby Rowland for using Eddie's word last week on his basketball broadcast.
Did he get it in?
Yes.
Yeah.
He did.
We've heard.
Amazing.
Yes. I didn't hear it, but
Overemphastated was the word, yeah.
Put it on a shirt.
That should be a fixture going forward, Toby. Maybe we could just have Eddie create a word of the week and see if Toby can put it in a broadcast.
Do you think you could do that on purpose though, Eddie? Or does it have to be organic?
I think it has to be organic, but if we're going to do it tonight in the West Virginia broadcast, he should throw in methamphetamine.
Something tells me that one's not going to hit quite right for Toby. Lord. Sorry, Toby. It was fun while it lasted.
I don't think we're going to have to go back to Morgantown. So, actually, we probably will next year. So, I guess the joke's on me. I've always liked Morgantown.
Yep, they're going to hear this. This is going to be...
Eddie and I have almost died in Morgantown. So,
Literally. That was a big bread, big dairy incident. Drove off the side of the mountain. I feel like the weather's always just been awful out there.
I think that might have been the last time it was just you and I on the road together.
Was that
2016 is when that was.
That was 16?
Mm-hmm. Because you told us all in the press box, so we all hurried up to get done because we were like, oh, man, it's just going to get worse.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was bad out, too. It snowed hard that night.
Yep.
And then you don't realize that basically that stadium is on top of a mountain until you have to drive down.
Anybody that has seen the videos from Morgantown is built basically, it is a mountain town.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
No,
I
is.
like Morgantown.
Just not when the streets are covered in snow and your car goes careening out of control.
It's kind of special.
Yeah, why is it that OU always seems to be there in November?
Well, at least the Big 12 is because it used to be that West Virginia was one of the best teams, and they just knew that was a really good game to schedule late in the year.
Yeah.
But West Virginia's kind of fallen. So they haven't had that game scheduled. Anyway. All right, Josh, I'm sorry to do this to you, and I don't know how much you even want to cover it, Bob, because this has been brutal to just watch basketball games right now. It's a struggle, man. You should get hazard pay. I shouldn't be saying that, but It literally is me at home just saying, please get over. Please get. I don't care if OU wins or loses. I'm just tired of watching this. It's been that bad lately.
They're not getting the production that when you brought these guys in, you're like, if this guy does that and that guy does this, they're going to be okay. They're not getting that right now. Specifically, that's Tanner Groves. I thought he would be the star of the team. He is not that guy. I don't know if he's mentally has the makeup to be that guy either, because when you hear Porter Moser talk about who he wants in the clutch, and he mentions Elijah Harkless, who of course has done it, UCF, Butler, Kansas State. He mentions Jordan Goldwire, Mo Gibson. Tanner doesn't even pop up, and so I don't know how that is going to resonate if Tanner looks like he should be your best player, but if he can't be involved in crunch time, and if he can't get a shot in the first half like he did against Baylor, you're going to have some real issues. So there's a whole bunch to work on, but we know it all starts turnovers, 7 in the first 4 minutes against the Bears, and it is consuming Porter Moser. There's no other way to say it. We asked a nice, lighthearted, friendly question because it was right when the Bears had hired their general manager yesterday, so we're asking Porter about the Bears head coaching search, and he's like, I would, but I'm so concerned about our turnovers. Like, he's just got this tunnel vision right now. He doesn't understand all the experience he has on the court, why they can't take care of the ball.
It doesn't make sense. I mean, they are a great stat from Lee Benson, Channel 9. They're 319th in the country right now in turnovers. And they're playing a team tonight that ranks top 20 in forced turnovers and turnovers per game in West Virginia. I mean, it's a massive problem. And I think that you look back at last weekend, whether it be the midweek game against Kansas or the disaster on Saturday against Baylor when you turn the ball over 25 times, it didn't feel like in the Kansas game they just played poorly. You get beat by a shot at the very end, Christian Brown or whatever. It's like, okay, you can live with that. Saturday was just awful. I mean, you turn the ball over 25 times, there's not going to be very many teams in the country that you can beat. And unfortunately for Oklahoma, you're now in a situation where you've lost 4 in a row and you're playing
staring a 6 game very quickly.
Let me ask you this
road game of the season, and then the number 1 team in the country in Auburn on Saturday.
Let me ask you this, Bob, because everyone loves the intensity of Porter Moser, but do you almost get the impression, and I feel this through my television, like the team doesn't really, hit Porter Moser's intensity. It's almost like it's channeled through the team, not as intensity, but as panic. Because every time they're going up and down the floor and the game speeds up, it's just like everyone is trying too hard and making decisions without thinking about them. And it almost just feels like when they have a fast break, it's like a panic break. And the ball just goes everywhere.
There's a lot of pressing going with it, for sure. It's just like they're not making the simple play, and that's something Moser keeps stressing. And he also keeps stressing, stop driving 1-on-3 and then getting trapped and then making a bad pass. Make the pass before you get into the 1-on-3 situation. And
because they don't have any finishers other than Harkless. Like, no, he's the only guy that can drive into a double team and possibly make a bucket. Like, Goldwire can do it if he's driving into a double team and someone gets, screened off or something, fine. But yeah, I mean,
they just got to take care of the basketball.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, they're top 10 right now in the country in field goal percentage per game, but it's all the other possessions that they don't get a shot up. It's because they turned over the damn ball.
Like, I remember tweeting it was 21-17 OU over Baylor going into the under 4 timeout. And Baylor had 34 shots and OU had 19.
Yeah.
15 more shots. That OU was ahead, but they allowed 15 more shots. And I mean, that's been the story. Their 2-point percentage is off the charts. It's incredible. They can't shoot the 3. That's been a big issue during this 4-game stretch as well. The inability to hit any threes and any timely threes when you really need them. But they don't put up the shot attempts because they can't take care of the ball. Now they get C.J. Nolan back tonight. Ethan Shagwell's still out, and that might be. I mean, it's weird to say that a bench player might be a key to a lot, but Shagwell ran the offense really well. It's something Moser has brought up routinely during the last couple of weeks. It wasn't the scoring or the rebound, the flow of the offense. He always had like 2 or 3 assists, and when you only play like 15, 20 minutes, that's not that bad. And what you're missing that because for AK, it's just, hey, if he catches it and he can get a putback, he can get some rebounds, that's going to be good enough. But the flow of the offense is a lot different because Shagwell's been out the last 2 weeks.
Did you guys catch that stat graphic that ESPN put up during the Texas TCU game last night of the top 9 remaining toughest schedules in the country in college basketball?
No, I didn't see it, but I assume Oklahoma was way up high.
1's Texas, 2's Kansas, 3's TCU, 4's OU, 5's Texas Tech, 6 West Virginia, 7 Baylor, 8's Kansas State, and 9 is Oklahoma State.
Wow.
So I mean, it
wasn't just a Big
night.
12. It was a national toughest schedule.
It says NCAA top 9, and it's all 9 Big 12 teams.
Jesus.
And that's why, like, you go into tonight, and if you can, I guess, technically steal a game in Morgantown, boom, that's a quad 1 win on the road.
Yep.
Like every opportunity that you have, or every time that you go out on the floor now, you have an opportunity for a quad 1 win as things stand in the Big 12. I mean, if Oklahoma State didn't get screwed by the NCAA, the Big 12 should get 10 teams into the NCAA tournament. If Big 10 can get 13 teams in or whatever, and the Big East can get 11 teams in, the Big 12 should get every team in.
And you've got to get this one because I think you get into this pattern saying, well, they're on the road, they shouldn't win this, but we've seen it enough in the first 4 weeks, like Kansas State winning at Texas, TCU winning at Iowa State. Like there's enough examples of these games where OU should be one of them too, where it's, oh, they went to Morgantown, they got that win that they like.
Yeah, because right now all it is they went to TCU and they lost.
Enough where these teams are on the road, weren't supposed to win and pulled it out. That has to be OU tonight. And if you're listening on Thursday, we might sound like idiots because who knows what kind of performance we're going to see.
I told you this morning, I think Tanner Gross goes for 50, and I think OU wins. And you guys are off the bandwagon. I'm kicking you guys off the bandwagon. You've sentenced them to the NIT. I think this team still wins a game in the NCAA tournament.
Who's you guys?
You.
What did I say? I didn't. Look.
You said you wanted to be done watching them.
Oh, well, I mean, the way they're playing right now, sure. But if they stop turning it over and make some shots.
You're headed to the CBI with them. I don't know who's going, but you're going with them.
The record's going to be funny because if they lose tonight and they lose Auburn, they'd be 12-9, and you'd only probably feel like 2 of the games of 2 of their recent losses. Maybe they shouldn't have lost. But eventually you can't be the hard luck loser. You're just going to have to find a way to finish these things. And that's the problem when it's only Harkless at this moment who can step up on a consistent basis. Consistent is huge because there's just none of that to be found. Game to game, you don't know who's going to bring it. Besides, you think Harkless wants the moment. And sometimes that's half the battle, just wanting to be the guy because he gets put in a lot of tough stretch where he just passed the ball 5 on the shot. It's like, all right, he's got to shoot. And his field goal percentage is terrible, but that's a position that he's been put in time and time again.
Is it unfair to, I guess, expect more from Mo Gibson? Is it just is what it is?
No.
He's got to be better.
Because he transferred to OU to be a point guard. And now it's almost like there's times he's scared to dribble. Yeah. He just wants to be a spot-up shooter. He can, when he is effective of dribbling in and out of the lane and dishing, passing and sometimes finishing at the rim, that's another element to this offense. Because then when he's, takes a 3, maybe he might have more space and he might actually be able to get that shot in a nice open area instead of guys closing in on him and then him not really knowing how he should react after that. He doesn't have to be a 3-point shooter only, and I feel sometimes when he gets mentally or physically tired, that's what he falls back on.
All right, Josh, you survived. You survived Hoopstock. I guarantee he left.
I just want it to be known that I haven't given up on the team, Eddie. I'm still with them as ever.
Thank God there's somebody.
So because Josh just won't say anything about hoops, he gets to be on the bandwagon.
How about the Kansas State girl scoring 61 the other night against OU?
Wow.
God, 61?
If you didn't, by the way, if you heard that and then you had to ask yourself, I wonder who won that game, just don't. All right?
I think that's fair.
Well, they have like 94 points total. She had like 61 and 94 or something like that.
I'll be honest, I couldn't even tell you. I know that they got beat by a lot.
I mean, Bransky's doing a good job.
Oh, she's been incredible.
They got Bedlam tonight. Because I know there's a lot of people that are going to try to go back and forth between Zoom with women Bedlam and then men's at Morgantown. It'd be curious to see how it all works out.
By the way, I know we have quite a few OSU fans that listen. We certainly would like to send, our thoughts out to the Oklahoma State athletic community. I mean, the wreck that the Ferrari kid had.
God.
I mean, unbelievable. Did you see the car?
Yeah, he's lucky to be alive. And for Casey Dunn to be driving by at that moment.
I know.
And the fact that nobody died, even the person that he hit, is absolutely unreal. I think I am going to start. I tweeted it earlier this morning. I think I am going to. Did you see his double watch, Carrie? Ferrari?
No.
Oh, man. He goes double watch. Very high level drip. I think I might start doing it.
They call that the Schwarzenegger.
That's the Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, because Schwarzenegger wears two watches all the time.
I DM'd you a picture. He one of the golfers, Eugenio Shikara, sent it out. What a look. I'm a big fan of the Ferraris.
I
want to be invited to Payne County for a Italian dinner with them.
Well, those are some vibes.
That just unbelievable drip. That was scary though. Because when you initially see that, it's like, holy shit. This is not good.
Yeah, and that was scary when you heard the story but hadn't really had a lot of details, and you hear that Casey Dunn was pulling people out of the cars when they were on fire. I mean,
it's crazy.
Man, just insane.
What do you guys make of the hire that they made with Derek Mason? That's kind of unbelievable that they were able to get him from Auburn.
It's a big hire, yeah. I mean, I guess Harsin and Mason weren't getting along all that well.
Brandon Marcello, I think national writer from 24/7, had kind of insinuated that Derek Mason was looking for other places because of the direction of the pro. I don't know. It seems like Brian Harsin might be the worst person of all time.
I mean, they just had Gus Malzahn there, so I mean, no, but I mean, wasn't there also some rumors about an offensive hire for Gundy that was kind of big? That was kind of a big name that was out there floating around. I mean that to make that hire, and if he makes one more big hire, I mean Casey Dunn did a nice job, but I think he's not Todd Monken. I mean, he's not even Mike Yurcich, I don't think. I mean, I think he could do a little bit better. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not the OSU show, I know. Sorry.
They lose Shane Illingworth. I guess that's another option that bitch boy out west.
There you go.
If they needed a
Lincoln Riley, Shane Illingworth. That's your next quarterback.
I do think that Illingworth can play.
Yep.
Like, he can't move, though.
He has a cannon of an arm.
He's got a great arm, but he is a statue.
Yeah.
And I don't think Lincoln
wants that.
Kind of
the word up in Stillwater that there were some people that wanted him to play in front of Spencer Sanders, but not behind that offensive line because he can't move.
Right, yeah. No, Spencer Sanders entrenched himself after that bowl game.
Sure.
I mean, that's why he's transferring, so.
I mean, does he have – somebody was telling me the other day that Spencer Sanders could play 2 more years if he uses his COVID year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. He's been up there for 7 already.
Those 2018 kids will have.
Well, if he could just.
Would OSU fans want that?
Not after the way he played this year, not consistently. Unless he can find consistency, he'll probably be there for 2 more years.
That's amazing to me.
But if he could put together 9 or 10 games like the bowl game, you think he'd be out of there.
Yeah. Well, if everything goes as planned, I would imagine that they would want him to probably move on, depending on what is coming in and out.
And, here's what's going to be interesting, guys, just kind of looking ahead is, you have signing day coming up, spring football. But at some point, we're going to get back into the Big 12 SEC discussions and when that might happen. And especially with BYU and Cincinnati and everybody else, coming in. There's already been some talk about the division splitting up, 7-team divisions. But at some point, I just get the feeling that there's going to be some movement with OU and Texas. And we're probably going to spend the entire summer hearing this and that about when this might be a possibility of the move happening. But again, if you're OU, I don't think it's such a bad thing to be stuck in the Big 12 for a couple more years until Jerry Schmidt does his work with the football program.
There is a sense of, okay, the move's going to happen. Now you need to kind of almost build your program to be ready to make that move, if you will.
Well, let's face it,
from a physical standpoint with players, but support staff, everything that goes into the program.
Well, let's face it, after everybody watched that national championship game, I think every single program in the country was like, yep, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Georgia and Alabama look like they played in a completely different league than the NCAA.
Especially after what they did to Michigan and Cincinnati.
Yes, no kidding. Like with the knowledge of how just, I don't know, futile Cincinnati's effort was offensively, and you knew that they were a pretty good offensive team and that Ritter was a good quarterback, those teams are just way better than everybody else.
Well, and Georgia, far from explosive offensively, walked through what was a pretty good Michigan defense. That was what shocked. I thought that game would be like 21-7 or something. I didn't think Georgia was just going to go in and slap them around offensively the way they did.
So, I mean, I don't think it's such a bad thing if Oklahoma has to stay in the Big 12 for a couple more years. Although, you got to put up.
It'll be more than one.
I think this is it.
I bet it'll be. If I had to put money on it,
good.
I would say a year. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't know that anybody's going to just, even Texas. I mean, they're trying to build themselves. I mean, I will just say, I think it depends on how Oklahoma and Texas do this year. So, if Texas somehow came out, because Texas, if they somehow came out and played for the Big 12 championship next year, they'd, thump their chests out and say, okay, we're ready for the SEC now.
They might just go professional. They might go to the NFL if that happens.
Yeah, some would want to. But I'd say one more year for sure.
With the offseason Texas has had, they're already convinced they're ready for the SEC. Quinn Ewers doesn't have to do anything. It's just, now it's all sorted out. I mean, there was a post we saw, somebody brought it to, I think Beaver brought it over to the board. It was about basically Texas was an offensive line away from being ready for a national championship,
which they now have.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Because everybody knows highly recruited freshmen make for great offensive lines in national championships.
Yeah, and what of that? Did somebody replace the entire Texas defense and I missed it? That defense was bad last year. What are we talking about?
They have Patterson now.
Yeah. I mean, the defenses he was putting together at TCU definitely make me feel confident. That's the thing. I don't get that. And don't get me wrong, Gary Patterson's a guy great
I love
coach.
Gary Patterson, by the way. I love him.
But can we all agree he kind of lost his fastball? It wasn't the same over the last 4 or 5 years.
I mean, look, they have a lot of.
Or was that message just falling on deaf ears?
Yeah,
maybe a little bit of both.
Because they weren't evaluating and bringing in those, those guys like you used to find, where they'd find some rando guy from East Texas.
What made Gary Patterson was his defensive line, and he didn't have that the last few years. Like, they always had dudes. Like, this year, Kansas State had all those guys. Like, you were like, where'd that guy come from? That was at Kansas State. Iowa State had the best defensive lineman, Will McDonald. I mean, OU had really good defensive linemen. TCU and Texas Tech doesn't have, like, Baylor had a little bit, but not as much as they did under Rule. Baylor was good because of their safeties, because of, what's his name, number 9.
God. Yep. Kid, I know he's from Stafford. Petrie. Jalen Petrie.
Yeah. I mean, that dude, they had some safeties that would come up and just knock the shit out of you.
Baylor's had those guys for, it seems like, the last 20 or 10 years. Just awesome safeties that want to kill somebody.
Yep.
Remember Ahmad Dixon that Gary Patterson wanted to kill after that one game?
Yeah.
Guys, I don't know. I'd have to look at it some more, but I think Kansas State's got a chance to be a really sneaky good team next year in the Big 12. Like, just there's some pieces there that you talk about Deuce Vaughn and Adrian Martinez running some of that zone stuff like
with Colin Klein as their coordinator.
Yes.
I mean, they're going to. I mean, you're going to get games with 6 possessions against that offense next year.
It's just a weird game.
But I will say, Adrian Martinez, after seeing him against OU, much more impressed than I was at any other point of his career. Like, that dude is an athlete.
I feel like everybody has that like definition of Adrian Martinez, and then I turn on a game the next week after seeing him, and he turns the ball over 3 times and makes like 2 of the most like boneheaded throws in the history of college football.
Yeah.
Like, I guess that's the Adrian Martinez everybody knows.
Adrian Martinez is a rich man Spencer Sanders.
I mean, I don't get that. A rich man Spencer Sanders?
I'd take Adrian Martinez 8 days a week over Spencer Sanders.
Not as a thrower.
I think he's I think it's probably a wash, and I think he's a better athlete.
He's a much better. He's a better athlete. He's definitely a better runner than Spencer Sanders. More dangerous.
Yeah.
I would say he's more like he's more Colin Klein than he is Spencer Sanders. Colin Klein was a terrible thrower, but you would beat the crap out of him, and he would beat the crap out of you through the course of a game.
Yeah, he was, like I said, he was just tough. I mean, like that when I think of him, like it's weird to think of a guy like him being the quarterback's coach.
Eddie, you remember that Scoop HD shot you had of Colin Klein where Frank Alexander just steps on his chest after a play? And then he was like, "Oh, I didn't mean to do that."
Yeah.
And they almost caused a brawl in the middle of the field. Like Colin,
I think that was up in Manhattan.
It was. Yeah, it was in like Ronell Lewis was the other defensive end in that game.
Gary, if I remember right, I think Brent Venables is in the back of that video.
That'd be 2011. Yeah.
I think Venables comes running out.
Yes,
and he grabs
you're right.
Frank Alexander.
You're right. He does. Because Tom Ward would have been the linebacker. Yeah, that was 2011. Yeah, that would have been the year they lost, or they went to Florida State and
17.
won.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was that would have been the birth of the Belldozer. That game would have been the very first Belldozer, right?
That's why we remember it. Future Super Bowl champion.
If you would have told me that guy is going to have a 10-year NFL career at tight end, I mean, that's just crazy. And I mean, I love it for Blake. It's awesome. He was always a great dude for me to deal with, but it's just amazing the longevity he's had.
I think the real question is, has he met Jackson yet?
Yeah, that's probably true too.
Let's hope not.
Brittany, I mean, God.
I want to cheer for the Chiefs, but then I have to see those two, and it's like, do I really want to cheer for the Chiefs?
See, I always thought that she was getting dragged into the douchebag category because of him, but then when she starts spraying champagne on the crowd in 12-degree weather, I'm like, okay, she's a douchebag too.
For the divisional. It's not like they even won the AFC championship.
Yeah.
Okay, I pay no attention to this kind of shit. Was she spraying it like? I assume she was in a box.
No, she was in the box.
So
she's in the box.
She opens up the champagne and acts like she just won a F1 race, and she starts spraying it all over the crowd below her.
But none on herself?
None on herself, no.
Okay, see, like if you're involved with it, cool.
It was so Marie Antoinette. I mean, it was just like, it was ridiculous.
That's not cool. That's not cool.
And then
You like if you take some, fine.
Do whatever I wanted.
And of course, Jackson's sitting there TikToking it. Just awful people.
This is how out of that I am. Like, I just know they're annoying. I don't really know why. I read everyone and they're like, hey, like unanimous. Like there's so little the internet is unanimous about, but they are unanimous in their hate of him. And then I guess her now.
So bad. So foul.
All right. I think that's going to do it.
Real quick before we get out of here, there's one thing that we haven't hit on. The addition of Tyler Guyton, offensive line transfer.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's hard to know where he fits in.
Right. Is that more of just adding a body to add a body, or is that somebody that could actually contribute?
Well, I mean,
Not
you
for
lose
2022, but maybe 2023.
You lose Hayes, you lose Robinson. I mean, you need some bodies.
Need some linemen that can catch touchdowns.
I could see Jeff Levy throwing that in there.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about an athletic guy. I mean, there's reason to think down the road he can be of some help to you. But
I mean, that's going to be the really interesting thing is seeing, with Schmitty spending an offseason with some of these offensive linemen like Anton Harrison. Like, what's that going to do for that guy? Because obviously he's very talented, but he's got some deficiencies.
Some of the stuff that Gabe and Teddy passed along was like, holy shit, concerning. As far as just overall strength on the offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, my God. And I was one of those, I wouldn't say that I defended Benny Wiley, but I guess I just couldn't allow myself to think that it was truly that easy in a way. But, I mean, what were they doing? Because it sounds like nothing.
My problem was always, and I'm a big believer in, like, coaches don't just become stupid. And I know I said that, what I said about Gary Patterson, but, like, there is a point when, like, you're just older and you're not as invested as you used to be. I didn't think Bill Bedenbaugh suddenly, like, in 2 years forgot how to coach offensive linemen, like, or how to run the scheme they'd run since he got there. Something had changed, and those guys, they just couldn't physically do it. Like, they couldn't, they weren't going to move bodies around the way they needed to.
It never made sense to me that Marquise Hayes was not more dominant as a player.
Yes.
Or dominant at all. I mean, he's just, if you see Marquise Hayes in person, he's a massive human being. As big as like, more impressive than the majority of offensive linemen that I've ever seen up close at OU. Like, it's just, you don't understand it, but because he's not out there just dominating people left and right, but he should have been. He has that type of build. He just does.
And you know what I hadn't thought of until this moment? You guys remember when Ramondre Stevenson came out and the Patriots basically were like, this guy hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
And like how bad his conditioning and strength and stuff was. I'd totally forgotten about that until this moment. But yeah, I mean, it's just clear. Like, and I'm not going to say, like I was saying all along, that Benny Wiley had to go, but about midway through last year, I started being like, there's a pattern here. Like, every year since Schmidt left, the offensive line's been a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit worse.
Kind of like the entire team.
And there was no reason for it because last year there was experience, there was talent. I mean, the 2017 group, which is, Bill Bedenbaugh's best bunch, was not a bunch of high-level recruits, wasn't a bunch of elite dudes. God, guys, look at Creed Humphrey and look how he looked over the last 2 years of his career when you're like, he's pretty good, but he's not dominant in the way, like when his
you asked
early
yourself,
career,
why
people were
isn't he
talking about him
better?
like he was going to be a superstar. Yeah, like you were like, I know he's got it in him to be better than what I'm seeing. And now, he just put together one of the best, rookie offensive line years in the last decade.
Yeah,
what an indictment. I mean, my God.
To have that lineage of, to start with Trent Williams and then Lane Johnson and then Orlando Brown, like all those left tackles, and then it just stopped. And it's like you wanted to kind of blame Bill Bedenbaugh on it, but let's face it, they were getting good. I mean, like Aaron Parks, he's a good example. Like, what's his name? What's Simpson's first name? Daryl Simpson. Like, guys just disappear into the program. Like, that's never happened before. It's either they washed out, or they got really good. And they're guys that we know are superior athletes that just disappear over the last few years. And that's something that, and I'm saying disappeared on the roster. Like, people would disappear, they would transfer. But I don't remember a time in OU football history where so many offensive linemen that we knew were talented, Bray Walker, just disappear on the roster. And it's happened year after year.
I think I'm more angry now than I've ever been. Like, how does the head coach not realize that?
Because he's never been in a program like this. Like, Josh and I used to talk about this all the time. Like, when Bob would bring in like a Bruce Kittle, it's like he has no idea what he's supposed to be looking for. And I think that was the same with Lincoln in offensive line development. Like, he wasn't part of that. Like, he saw a little bit of it when he first got here and was the coordinator, but Bob had seen it for 20 years. Like, he knew, I remember Bob first got here, he had a guy like Stalker McDougal. And then, they develop a guy like Frank Romero. And, I mean, Mark Mangino was the offensive line coach. Then Kevin Wilson. I mean, Jamal Brown. Like, he had years and years of seeing what it was like for a guy to develop to the level where he was an all-pro caliber player, a first-round draft pick. Lincoln never had that. So there was no voice in his head saying, this isn't really going like it should. Brent will have
nobody
that.
there to tell him different.
Yeah.
Well, or, you couldn't tell him different. You think Bill Bedenbaugh felt comfortable saying, the way Benny Wiley is running our program is hurting our offensive line? Maybe we should ask Bill if he ever said that to him. I don't know that he would tell you, but having Schmitty back, you don't have that problem anymore.
Well, I know that we've rehashed it before, but I think it's fairly accurate to say that Bill was not happy with not only the strength of the offensive line, but just the physicality standpoint of the offensive line, and tried to do things, and that message just never was received by the head coach.
I don't think there is a bigger indictment of him on the current roster than Anton Harrison. Anton Harrison's a guy they clearly had big hopes for, wanted him to take that left tackle job, be the friggin' guy, and just we're going to build it around him, around Rame, let the experienced guys, Murray, Robinson, Hayes, let it all come together. And Harrison looked like the same guy his sophomore year as he did his freshman year. That's what we're talking and that's what Carey's talking about with there was never any understanding of there's an evolution. Like, it doesn't
Marquise Hayes never
happen
evolved.
when they
there was never any evolution with him.
Mm-hmm.
I agreed.
Maybe
other than switching positions, like going from guard to tackle, there really hasn't been an evolution with any player. I mean, I'll tell you who's going to tell us when things have changed and how because I know talking to Gabe, he believes that Savion Byrd is the most talented offensive lineman in the program right now. If he gets on the field and starts being a difference maker, then we'll know things have changed. Drop the mic, boom. Show up.
No, I don't disagree. I know talking to some various people, there are very, very high hopes for what Savion Byrd could be. I mean, like, he could be that.
But Wanya Morris is also
lineage.
Wanya Morris is also that guy that, like,
yep.
If they're really developing guys, he can be a dude by the time he's done here.
That's just an all-time like head scratcher of what happened there last year. I want to take a deep dive on that.
I think like, just the stuff with Tennessee not releasing him, his academic issues, like, I just think he got started so late it never could come together.
I mean, guys, they're not going to have the numbers we're used to seeing on the offensive line. But, man, if you could put Rame, Morris, Byrd, Harrison, and then maybe like Aaron Parks or Marcus Alexander or maybe McCade Mattel. I mean, like, you're talking about 4 or 5 guys there that have legitimate NFL aspirations. Like, not just like, cup of coffee. Like, those guys have NFL talent. And we're all very highly recruited dudes. Like, if you could make that work and get them ready to go, that offensive line can be good. Now, it's going to be fragile because you don't have a lot behind any of that. But that is that's more talented than the 2017 bunch. Like, now, do they become as good? I don't know. But the physical ability, the length, the talent, all the stuff that you would want to put in an offensive lineman, those guys have it in huge quantities.
I want to see that offense with Jeff Lebby. I think seeing that offense and what they're about, and we kind of know what they're about. I mean, we've seen UCF, we've seen Baylor over the years with, Art Briles involved and Lebby calling plays and all that. And I mean, we know what he's about, but just being able to see an offense go out there and be successful, I think that's the final step in us just moving past T-Bow. Like, seeing a quarterback go out there and play well, see running backs explode for big runs, explosive plays, just to know, like, okay, everything's going to be fine on that side. Because I think we all believe defensively they're going to be better.
Sure.
And Brent's going to have more dudes in here than we've seen in a long time.
I mean, just almost have to be.
Yeah.
They have to be.
Just have a couple. Let's just start with a 2 deep at safety. How about that?
And keep the best players on the field.
I wonder it's going to be telling what they do with Key Lawrence. They keep him at corner, they move him to safety. Maybe that decision's not made till spring or after spring.
God, let it be safety. Please let it be safety.
He's a hell of a corner, though.
He is going to be like the most intriguing
but he can cover
in a long time.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's going to be the most fun covering a team.
He can cover
in years and years.
Key, absolutely. Like, I'm not saying
love Key as a corner. I love him especially against bigger receivers. I mean, what he did against what's his name from Tech? I can't even pronounce it unless I'm looking at it.
Oh, Ekazama, Eric Ekazama, something like that. It's Ezekama. I think that's what it is.
It is.
Yeah,
eczema.
Where the hell was Bob? Bob's usually our fixer on that sort of thing. Bob's left us.
He's probably got a Pearl issue. I think Bob has left us.
Bob left us. Damn it, Bob.
Bob really did leave us.
Bob's always so quiet. It's hard to know if he's there or if he's just tired of dealing with our bullshit.
Bob's on a tight schedule.
Probably a little bit of both.
He gets kept on a tight schedule.
Yeah, Bob's got a lot of stuff going. But no, with Lawrence, it's more about, like, I like Graham at corner. I think Woody Washington's the best corner returning in the Big 12. You've got those. And then you bring in guys like Holden and Morrison and some of these other guys that can play some corner, that can do some different stuff. Then, at safety, you've just got big, wide open holes back there. Like, who's your most talented guy? Let's get him on the field as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand. Key Lawrence is so intriguing as a safety.
Mm-hmm. And you can still, it's not like it's safety in the Big 12. He's not going to be in coverage a lot.
Right. Well, and then, Billy Bowman getting his confidence back is going to be a big part of spring, too.
Oh,
Sure.
Bowman and Lawrence as the safeties. Don't tease me. I'm not going to get excited. I'm not going to do it. Just not going to get emotionally invested about it.
All right. That was some quality football talk. We haven't had that in a long time, it seems like.
Yeah, we kind of football nerded out there a little bit.
We did.
It is strong.
So I apologize for some of the weirdness today, some of our weirdness, I think, ever on the show today. The U40 pre-sale hats still going. I'm going to need a couple more days. We had like 80-something people that I've got to get to, but we've already placed a second order. For those of you that have seen it on Twitter or whatever, we had them online for a little bit just to show, but the high crown visors went super fast. We've got those on back order. I even got a few black ones to test out as well, see how those go. But we'll be restocked here real soon, and we'll have them online, I would like to say, by the end of the weekend. There won't be a whole lot to choose from, so if you see them online, we'll announce it, and you better go get them fast. Until this next round comes in, those are going to go quickly. But it's nice to finally have that out there. We'll have more merch coming as well, so appreciate all the response and everybody that took part. And sorry if you're not a subscriber to the Sooner Scoop. That's why you need to be, because pre-sale on special stuff like merch, that'll be happening now that we've got SoonerScoopStore.com open up. First access to special merch and things like that. Another reason for you to subscribe to the website. I know Josh likes hearing that. So thank you to Dead Soxy. By the way, they've got the pre-sale also on their retro Oklahoma sock, new thing that they just came out with. Go check it out, deadsoxy.com. But thank you to Josh. Thank you to Eddie. Thank you to Bob. And I am Kerry Murdoch. And we'll see you next week back here for another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com.